Today I'm excited to have with me a Dark Farm Brew Tank. Now, since my Brewzilla died, thank you everybody for submitting all your suggestions about what to get next. I finally decided on this Dark Farm Brew Tank. It's effectively very similar to the Clawhammer system or the Anvil Foundry system that they have in the US. However, unfortunately in Britain it's not quite available, and so I've managed to find this. Now, the Dark Farm is effectively a very similar system, but just a little bit different in terms of a power supply, but we'll go into this in due course. Now, it comes in three different options of just the basic model, a Summit model which contains some few extras and accessories, and finally their fully loaded model. And the fully loaded model comes with all of these accessories. Now, I'll go into both talking about the accessories and then a full build and a quick run with some water of the actual brew tank itself. Now, when it comes to accessories, we've got a very wide variety of accessories here. Specifically for this, I'm going to be talking about all the accessories that come for the fully loaded model. The Summit model comes with all of these, however it does not have a filter, sight glass, or a recirculation or sparge or clean in place ball. The rest of these accessories do come with the Summit model, but not with the base model, I believe. So, about the accessories, we get a pump capable of boiling water and putting it through, which works for recirculation. We get this Wort Filter. Inside it contains a thin mesh, so that when you want to run your wort through at the very end to put into your fermenter, this clears through the mesh and will take out some of the larger particulates, which you can then just wash, take these tri-clamps off and then wash. Obviously a heating coil, get a sight glass, which to be honest is just quite nice to have. You get to see the colour of the wort as it runs through. Is it clear? How's it going? Attach this to the pump perhaps, just to get a nicer idea of what exactly is going through. Now, technically this is a clean in place tool, as it spins round and allows to clean and get into areas. Additionally, it has the benefit of being able to use for recirculation. So as it comes in here, the wort will come through and then it will nicely spin and recirculate all around. Two open butterfly valves that can be attached to wherever you need it, potentially for the whirlpool or for the inlets. We have four 1.5-inch tri-clamp to a 1/2-inch thread inside. Get four of these, four O-rings to come in for the tri-clamps and in between the metal bits. Four 5/8 barbed clamps to put onto the hose. Four extra tri-clamps, a 4-inch to 1.5-inch tri-clamp reducer, two bits of braided hose. Now, I believe the Summit model comes without the braided hose. And inside the actual tank itself, due to lack of space, I've kept it inside, we have a grain basket with some dead space at the bottom so that we're not touching the actual heating element itself. Now, additionally, the basket has hooks that can then be attached and raised for the actual sparging itself if you need to. Now, obviously quite a lot of accessories involved here, but hopefully it won't be too difficult to actually attach onto the brew tank itself, and this is what we're going to do in just a minute. Now, one thing I do want to say is the actual build itself is quite sturdy. The welds aren't the best, I will admit. They could have been a little bit neater in my opinion. However, the quality is there. It's very sturdy and it's very thick walls. So on the tank itself, you can see a very, very thick insulating wall, which means most likely I won't need to have a jacket as you would, for example, with like a Brewzilla. And they should keep temperature very well. I say should, just on the assumption. We'll see when it actually turns out. Now, as for tri-clamps, these mainly use 1.5-inch tri-clamps with a 4-inch at the top. You have a 1.5-inch tri-clamp whirlpool arm, you've got an outlet, you have another opening to fit an analog thermometer, you've got another inlet valve here. At the back is another port that you can't quite see, and that can be used for an additional thermo weld in which to place your temperature control. Now, about temperature control, this brew tank comes with an Inkbird Wi-Fi ITC308 controller, and that works absolutely fine with the 2.5 kilowatt element. Now, this is rated for a 2.5 or a 3 kilowatt element. Dark Farm does supply further elements, however these will not be rated for the Inkbird itself, and you will need an additional source of control, like a PID system or something. Now, hopefully this will work absolutely fine. Luckily I'm used to Inkbirds and I'll be able to get it up to maybe about 50 degrees just when I run the water through, just to try it out and see how it works. And so, let's get building. Now I want to mention Dark Farm does supply some brew instructions that go along with how to build this, but taking a quick look through, I have noticed a few inconsistencies. One of the inconsistencies being a requirement to unlock this port when sparging, whereas actually we'd be wanting to use this to come in with the recirculation ball. So perhaps these inconsistencies are more that this is rated more towards the Summit model that does not contain these arms, in which case it'd be more accessible to sparge through here. As such, I'm not going to be needing these. Now first of all, I'm going to attach some butterfly valves to the whirlpool arm, and for the outlet, this is so that when I actually want to recirculate the wort, I can open the butterfly valve or close it depending on whether I actually want to start the pump itself. It will also allow me to regulate just how much of the wort is going through into the pump and allow me to slowly dial in how strongly it gets recirculated. Similarly for the whirlpool, it's exactly the same thing, it's just so I can control how much is going through. So all we want to do is take off this Triclamp, make sure to keep this plastic O-ring, we'll take our whirlpool arm. Now do know which way this goes, because you don't want to be placing it this way, and when you want to try and close the arm, it's going to go into your system. If it goes down, you want it to be facing this way. We'll attach the O-ring and place it on top. Then simply grab your Triclamp and fix it on. Once tight, you should be able to see that if you actually want to open the butterfly valve, you simply need to pull and bring it down. Now, a second butterfly valve I'm going to add onto the whirlpool arm itself. Now we can attach the actual heating element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around this side and I'm going to attach to this port just over here. So if we unlock this, slide the O-ring onto the element itself, make sure it's seated neatly in the groove, clamp on and add the Triclamps. Right then, with that set up, let's now do our thermo well. So what I'm going to do is rotate this so that you can see the back. With the thermo well, exactly the same. Take our clamp off, and here it is here. Now you might notice it's a bit too big to fit in, and that's precisely the reasons why we have these Triclamp 2 threads. What I'm going to do is attach the thread, take the O-ring, and seat our thermo well. Now for things with connections, what we're going to do is take our plumber's tape that have been nicely provided by Dark Farm, just to ensure that it completely seals without any leaks, and just pop it on. Now this will be used for our Inkbird, we might as well start putting into now. So Inkbird out, comes with a manual on how to use. Realistically, I'm not too fussed, and I'm just going to show how this is going to go in, and then leave that to the side for later when we actually add in a bit more water. Temperature probe extended, you can simply make sure that this is rotated out, insert it in all the way, and then simply tighten this just to make sure that it holds and doesn't slip out while you've got your mash going. Now speaking of mashing, I will be using this next in future videos. So if you'd like to see this with an actual brew day, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. Now with this, we can simply rotate it back and carry on. Now then, next up, I'm going to want to attach my recirculation to the top lid. What I'm going to do is take this off, the 4-inch lid, and replace this with my recirculation ball or cleaning in place product. Realistically, there's not much left in terms of the actual setup itself. We've got a bunch more clamps, if you notice, but these are mainly for setting up the pump. I do have this filter attached. However, I'm not going to be too fussed about using it just yet, because I'm just going to be wanting this when I'm transferring to the fermenter. So what I can do is place it on here once I'm actually ready to go and transfer, and that will clean some of the larger particulates from the wort. For now, I'm just going to leave this to the side as it's unnecessary for the main part that I want to show. We've got our hose, and so what we're going to want to do with this is connect the barbs to the hose so that there is a firm seal and a hold, and these won't come out during the actual process. I'm going to do this to both sides as they've got a Triclamp fitting that will connect to whatever I need it to connect to. So what you want to do is slide 2 of these rings onto one end and then use a screwdriver to rotate them into place. Luckily, you'll only need to do this the one time. After this, you've just got Triclamps to worry about. As you can see now, that's not coming off. And so, time to do this for the rest of them. If anybody's got a way of stopping this from slip sliding away each time you try and turn, please do let me know in the comments. Now actually, what I might do before this is attach on the sight glass so that I can see it coming out straight away. Now the sight glass is rated, I believe, to about 150 degrees Celsius, so I've got absolutely no worry about the glass itself getting damaged. So let's connect the other bit to the hose. Now then, for the pump itself, you want to ensure that the whole the hot liquid goes in the horizontal bit, it will come out from the vertical. Make sure that it doesn't go in the wrong way. That this here is threaded, which means we're going to need one of our threaded connectors to connect onto here. Now again, as with everything, just add a little bit of the plumber's tape, just to ensure that the connection is completely tight. Screw it on, finger tight, and then add the other part of the hose. And again, we want to Triclamp this. There's a pattern going here. So with this part of the hose connected, what we're then going to need to do is connect another one of these to the top, and that's going to be for the outlet. So again, a bit of the plumber's tape. Again, one of these, and attach to one of the other ends of your hose. Can anybody spot the error I've made? Which I've just realised is there are not enough Triclamps. If for example, I want to use the sight glass, I can't attach this onto here as I'm missing a Triclamp and one of those rubber O-rings. And so I might need to send a message to Dark Farm about this, and hopefully we can get this sorted out quite promptly. Which means either I don't use the sight glass, or perhaps temporarily I can steal one of these from up top, which is what I think I might do for the moment. It's quite well sealed, and so if mashing, I'm sure I can simply put something over this and that'll be enough to keep the temperature consistent. So for now, that's what I'm going to do. And so with that set up, we'll have wort or liquid or whatever you have coming in through here into the pump, back up top, and being recirculated through this little doohickey, which is going to spin round. Basket sits nicely and doesn't get in the way, and for sparging then we can simply lift it up onto these hooks. And again, this looks very Clawhammer-esque in my opinion. Yeah, there you go. Maybe I'll just stick one of these on and that will hold the temperature somewhat, I hope. And now the last thing that I seem to have forgotten about is the actual analog thermometer. So you get both a Inkbird to use and this analog thermometer just to keep track. So what we're going to do is take off this Triclamp, take off the thread, and again, as you can see, we're going to need this final bit of thread. So once more, in with the plumber's tape, just to make sure everything is nicely sealed. Now I've just noticed I've got two washers here, so and now we should be good to Triclamp on. And so in the interest of actually wanting to try this out, but not wanting to overload the table, what I'm going to do is pour just a very minimal amount of water, just enough to maybe cover the heating element and just get above here and get a little bit of water flowing through, just so you can see a rough idea of the system itself. Now, once it's all set up, this is actually looking really, really good. And I've got really high hopes for this. So let me add a little bit of water, just enough for the table, and we'll see the pump and the heating elements in action. So here we go, minimal amount of water. What I'm going to do next, set up the Inkbird, get it to about 30 degrees. We don't want anything massive, just get the heating element working. There's no leaks so far, which is great. Then I'll get the pump running and really brief, quick cycle, which you'll get to see with some beautiful B-roll. Alright, and so there we have it. I'm pretty pleased with this. I had to tighten the hose barbs just a little bit more as they're a bit too loose, so make sure to tighten them quite a lot, otherwise you'll get a little bit of leaking. Otherwise, the Inkbird does absolutely fine as temperature control. I saw it get to about 30.7 degrees, at which point it started to go back lower. I was set to 30, so again within that 1 degree of confidence, which really fantastic. The sparging ball works perfectly well, gives a really nice sort of spattering sparge if you so wanted to, and then once I dialed in the butterfly valve just a little bit more, it completely had stopped that as well. It completely slowed the flow as well to a nice trickle if that's what you needed, because it wasn't going through the work quick enough. Overall, I'm quite happy with this, and I'm really looking forward to having my brew day in a couple of days' time. So stay tuned, and do remember to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see the brew day with this Dark Farm Brew Tank. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe, and if you want to know more about any sort of features, let me know in the comments below. Additionally, if you've got your own brew tank and you just wanted to discuss it, again, leave a comment. I'd be more than happy to get back to you. And so, thanks for watching. Cheers.